Just making sure my kitty ears are on straight. Okay, I think we're camera ready. All right, let's do it. Dave Ramsey. My wife took out $250,000 loans. What's up with everybody taking out these $250,000 loans lately? All right, let's hear what he's got to say. I'm hoping that the loans possibly were before the marriage, so he entered knowing it was going to be there. Hey, let's find out.
Morgan is in Boise, Idaho. Hey, Morgan, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, Dave?
Better than I deserve. What's up?
So my wife and I, we got ourselves into about $250,000 in debt.
Oh.
And
On what?
Student loan.
All of it?
Yeah, all of it.
Who's the
That's
doctor
all
or
that we
lawyer?
have.
Who's the doctor or lawyer?
My wife will be shortly.
Oh, please don't tell me she's like a physical, I don't know, not what is it? A chiropractor? Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love my chiropractor. I'd be heartbroken if he was like $250,000 in debt.
She'll have her doctorate in pharmacology.
Is that good? I don't know if that's good or not. I don't know anything about pharmaceuticals. I know they can get paid very well, however.
A doctorate in, she's going to have a PhD in pharma. So what do you do with that? That's not a pharmacist.
Oh,
It is a pharmacist. That's actually what's required now.
Really?
Yeah.
a doctor in pharmacology? Okay.
Okay.
So,
all right. So she's going to be a pharmacist, and and what do you do?
I work in manufacturing.
Making what?
About $55,000 a year.
And this 200.
So he makes a little less than what I make, but then I've been a teacher for 18 years. I don't make much more than that.
50,000 is all hers?
Yeah, 100%.
So basically, they bought a house. Gotta start looking at his property, folks. It's real estate. All right, it's real estate.
Yes, man.
Real estate you can't live in.
Unbelievable.
We actually moved across the country, and before we used to deal finances together, but I've been doing all the finances for the last 4 years, and I recently came across you. I listened to a few of your books.
And we know how Ramsey feels about just one person doing all the budget. If I had to change anything in my past relationship, what I would change is I wouldn't be so naive as to where all the money was going. I was pretty naive. I didn't know.
And I'm just trying to figure out how, I mean, she has a lot on her plate, but she just doesn't want to be involved in finances at all. I'm trying to get her on board, and I'm not.
She absolutely should be involved in the finances. She's the one running it up. Just saying, it's like, hey, let me run up and go out and buy us a house that we can't live in, but don't talk to me about the debt. And that, people, as we all know, that is what keeps us in debt. Push my chair back. Someday I'm going to get a real chair, you guys, a real chair. Right now I sit on a stool because I think it forces me to sit up straight. Whereas if I have a regular chair, I'm going to lean back, and I don't want to do that. So forces me to sit up straight. But I think it's, I won't say shameful, I think, but I think it's unwise for one person to go running up all the debt, the other one being forced to contend and deal with it. And then when things tank south, such as you're calling on the Dave Ramsey show, because it seems questionable as to whether or not the income she's going to make is going to pay off this debt, then the one who ran up the debt goes and blames the one who was supposed to be in charge of the monthly budget. In other words, it is an easy way to put blame on the wrong person. Okay? And most, as the Ramseys, Dave Ramsey would say, you need to be involved in it together when you're ringing up $250,000. And it's kind of telling when he says that she just doesn't really want to be involved. Right?
Not really sure how to do that.
Well, when does she graduate?
In May.
And past.
Now, this was 5 years ago, so it was it was pre-pandemic.
Just boards after that in order to get a job, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So she's going to be concentrating on all of that between now and August.
But here's the thing. It's something that I've learned. Yeah, you can concentrate on all that scholastic stuff, but you better be concentrating on what the bill is costing so you don't sink yourself. We can all see that is exactly what the student loan companies want you to do. They want you to concentrate, just focus on your education, ignore the bill. As a matter of fact, we are going to send the bill to your school so you don't even have to worry about that, because we don't want to inconvenience you with that. And before you know it, you have 8 different student loan bills. The smallest one is, I don't know, $27,000 on up. And yeah, you concentrated all right. You concentrated.
I mean, she's completely absorbed in hitting this goal. Okay.
And it is that complete absorption in hitting the goal that causes you to lose financial control, because you don't understand what you're spending. I will say it 100 times. I swear to God, sweet Jesus, student loans are the only, it is, or as far as I know, it is the only area of finance we can go into, and we are almost encouraged to be absolutely blind to it. Okay, go and buy a car you can't afford, and someone's liable to go, you're kind of stupid there. All right. Go and get a house you can't afford. It's like, oh, bought too much house. Shame, shame. But boy, buy a house through a student loan company, and all of a sudden becomes, oh, but your job was to concentrate. You were focused. You were trying to improve things, right? And yet it's the one bill that you can't go bankrupt on.
Yeah.
But what I would do is just begin to plant the seed that at the time that happens, we are going to start handling things together.
And the problem is that seed should have been planted before she went to school. It's like trying to plan parent loans, parent plus loans, and go, okay, honey, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pay for, you're going to pay for your child's school, but you're not going to discuss with the child afterwards. The parent won't discuss with the child until afterwards, after the bill is run up. And then the parent will say, okay, now what are we going to do to pay off? Matter of fact, I did a video on that just about a week ago, just a few days back. Okay, $250,000 debt, $112,000 respectively for the daughter, another $112,000 respectively for the parents, and the parents and the daughter never sat down to have a conversation about who was going to pay the bill. The daughter knows she's responsible for her 112, but the parents, I'm assuming, I don't know, think the daughter's going to pay for it. These discussions, if I have learned anything about student loan debt that I can transfer to you, something I have learned is these discussions have to take place before you get into the debt. And I think part of the reason these discussions don't take place is people don't want to be told we can't afford it. I walk into a Mercedes dealership and, I say, I just want a Mercedes so badly. I don't care. Just give me my Mercedes 500 in black, leather interior. Well, actually, now I'll take a cloth because leather gets hot, okay? But I just want this so bad. I'm focused. I'm concentrating. I just give me the car, okay? Then I get the car, and now I'm going to sit down and figure out what the insurance and the maintenance and the policy package is. Student loans, we socially forgive not figuring it out beforehand. Yet, for many of us, it can be equal to or bigger than our monthly mortgage payment. That is wrong. That is absolutely wrong to be taking that approach, yet it is socially encouraged. My dream car, by the way, if I had to pick my dream car, it is the Lincoln Navigator in solid black. I mean, tinted windows, the whole thing. I just would like to, I know. That's my dream car, the Lincoln Navigator. Whenever I see one, I remind myself that someday dreams might come true.
Okay. I'm not your daddy, I'm your husband.
It's hard to take that type of role, though, the daddy, to take the husband role, not the daddy role, when the wife, in this case it's the wife, so we're going to refer to her, okay? When the wife is going, but I just want to spend all this money, don't tell me what it is. I don't want to know. Don't bother me with the finances, because I guarantee you she's going to be the first person to blame him when things go south, because bills can't be paid, and or the money she's making, even with the after degree, is not high enough to pay off the second house. They bought a second house. They bought two and a half of my condos. That's what they purchased. Yet she doesn't want to do anything with the maintenance. Debt has to be managed. It has to be maintained. And to put that all on this guy, and I don't know about you, but I thought he sounded stressed immediately when he called in. You kind of hear it in his voice. There's a stress there, because I guarantee you, she's going to be the one to blame him if her lifestyle can't be met because they have too much debt because she ran it up.
And you are too smart to not be involved emotionally in making the decisions of cleaning up this $250,000 mess.
Sometimes I feel like I'm Ramsey's twin because I can think almost the same words he thinks. I've watched so many of these episodes. This should have been discussed before. This should never have happened after. And in that case, who's at fault? Both of them are. They both are at fault. It should have been discussed before, which of course then leads to an interesting part in the relationship, which is one person wants to go to school and the other one doesn't. Now, I will say, when I was married, okay, before I got divorced, I'm the one who wanted to go to school. So all all the student loans were in my name. And when we got divorced, the student loans remained, of course, in my name, and I'm the one who took care of them. He wasn't, he didn't have liability, culpability for any of that.
So we are going to have to make some very tough decisions together. I am not going to make them by myself.
Because what he's really saying, what the husband's really saying, and I think I interpret what Dave is saying, and that is, look, you know what? You're not going to dump all the crap on me when SHI hits the fan. I'm telling you, I could see it. I could see it. That's what's going to happen when the wife can't get everything she wants. Okay, I'm not talking all wives, all right? I'm talking in this. We are narrowly focused on this particular phone call. When this woman, okay, can't get what she wants financially because they bought a timeshare resort that they can't get rid of, who is she gonna blame? Mark my word, she's going to blame him. She's not going to say, you know what, honey, it was my fault. We should, we should have both been responsible, and we should have discussed, hey, what is a $250,000 debt going to do to our budget? And we should have decided if this degree was financially worth it for me to go. The one thing I'll tell you is the older I get, the more I am convinced that going back to school to get an advanced degree is not always financially worth it. This is just something I've observed, and I have watched a lot of videos long before I decided to become a reaction channel. Okay, part of the reason I became a reaction channel is I've watched years and years and years of videos. All right, dealing with student loan debt, and they tell you that statistically, what is most of the $1 trillion debt, okay, is held by people who went to advanced degrees. What is it about the advanced degrees that are causing the debt that, say, the bachelor's degree does not? Well, part of it is just simply time. People with advanced degrees tend to be older, so we have less time to pay off this debt before we have to start thinking about retirement. Okay, that we're talking advanced degrees. A lot of people with advanced degrees already have debt, like I did. When we go either we have debt from our bachelor's degree that we have not paid off, or in my case, we already have a debt from one degree, and then we decide, oh, heck, let's go get another one. Advanced degrees, I'm convinced, as they say statistically, that they are absolute budget killers if you are not careful. And I'm convinced more than ever at the age of 56 that not everybody should go out to get an advanced degree to try and earn more money. That sometimes earning more money may be something as simple as pick up a 10, 15-hour a week non-stressful job and just pocket the change. Because right now they're going to have to pay $250,000 before the degree pays off. And that's the other thing. Remember, you ain't made a profit. You have not gotten a pay raise until that student loan is paid off. Until my student loan was forgiven in 2022, I wasn't even breaking even. So what would happen if they had just simply gotten a second side gig and they earned $250 on that and just pocket it instead of giving it to the student loan company? I am convinced that changing the way we see that the advanced degree is the only way to get ahead financially. I'm as I get older, folks, I'm telling you, and as I hear story after story, and I've read countless stories, okay, about student loan debt, not everybody should go out and an advanced degree as a way to make more income. I don't think people want to get advanced degrees just to either break even, because that's not much fun. Okay, great. I got an advanced degree and I just broke even. I didn't make anything, I didn't lose anything. But I did all that work just to break even, okay? Or I got the advanced degree, but the job that I have doesn't cover enough to not just pay off that advanced degree, but give me a profit. Yeah.
You and I are going to make them. You get a pass through your boards. After that, it's grown-up time, and the two of us are going to sit down together, and we are going to make decisions about our future and about cleaning up this mess and how deeply we're going to sacrifice to get that to happen. I am not going to drag you kicking and screaming through $250,000 in debt. I have no desire to be married to a woman where I'm her daddy.
I hate to say it, he already is married to a woman where he's her daddy. Yeah. Hold on, let me have a sip of Chick-fil-A. I have to have a sip of my root beer. He's already her daddy. Because daughters want to go to school and they don't want to be held accountable for the, I'm sorry, sometimes I hold my mouse the wrong way and it makes the screen flash. I apologize. Daughters don't, she is the daughter that wants to have her needs met and she doesn't want to hold responsibility. Knowing what I know today, if I were married and one of us wanted to go to school, first thing we would do, I'm talking first thing is, are we on the same page as to how we are going to fund this, how we're going to pay it off? It almost sounds like she said, and again, I'm not part of the relationship, so I can only, I think it's hypothesize, okay? I think that's the word. I'm not a science person, so if hypothesize is the wrong word, forgive me, I don't know everything. But the only thing I can think of is she seems like the type that said, I'm going to go and get this advanced degree, like it or not. Because if they were already on the same page, there'd be no need for him to call in. Think about that. There'd be no need for him to call in. When you're on the same page, nobody calls Dave Ramsey and says, hey, you know what? Mr. Ramsey, I went to school. My spouse went to school. She ran up $250,000, but man, we are so on the same page. We both agreed to it. We know exactly how much the monthly payment amount is. We know that for about every $100,000, it's going to cost us $1,000. So we're prepared to pay around $2,000, maybe about $2,000 a month, maybe $2,500 a month. And we just want to thank you. We are on the same page. Oh, heck no. That's not what happens. Not unless they're doing their debt-free screen. Okay? He already is daddy. Which, by the way, debt can be a hell of a romance killer. Yeah. Debt, which is why it ends a lot of relationships. Debt can be a heck of a romance killer. And when you have one person racking up the debt and the other one's being stuck dealing with it, going, I can't make it. And which also then leads me to wonder, why doesn't he just have this discussion with his wife? Maybe she's not approachable in that, which right there is a problem. See? Sometimes debt brings out more than just money issues. It brings out communication issues between the couple. So it almost makes you wonder, is this a debt problem? And you've heard me say this before. Is this a student loan debt problem? Or is it a communication relationship problem? And I'll tell you this, okay? I'll bet $1. It's a communication relationship problem. And it's going to be one that, unless they can find their way out of it, it's going to eventually tear them apart. Because he is going to have to sacrifice for something that he really has no immediate advantage of. Okay? There's no advantage to him for her to take out a $250,000 student loan if they can't pay it off and benefit financially from it. And then that's where you get your, what's the word? I can't think of the word. It's Friday night. When, not vindictive, that's the wrong word. It's when somebody is upset that, it's not regret. I can't think of the word. It's been a long day at school. But that's when feelings start to occur that go, hey, you know what? I'm doing all this work, yet you're the one with the degree and you got all the glory and I'm just sitting here being the workhorse. I can't think of the word.
Now, you can be a little kinder and less blunt than that, but that's the message.
No, 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 Ramsey, you're being too nice. David's being too nice. No, you need to be blunt. This is the status of our relationship. This is the financial status of our relationship. This is what we have coming in. This is what we have going out. This is where, we are at financially. Sometimes things need to be just simply blunt. If you're going to get out of debt, there can't be a whole lot of niceties. I'm not saying be mean and rude and callous, but
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you say that in a more kind and gentle way?
There you go. He doesn't communicate with his wife. They do not communicate. And there's the problem. So this debt is going to be near impossible to climb out of. I can guarantee you now, 5 years later, they're still in the debt. I'll bet you $1 on it. They're still in debt.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. The number one cause of divorce in North America today is money fights and money problems.
See?
You've got money problems. You are going to get sick and tired of carrying this intellectual genius that you're married to.
Then I may not put it that way, but that's exactly it. He's going to feel like he's doing all the work. She's getting all the glory. Okay? But he's doing all the work. And when she graduates and the money isn't rolling in, guess what? He's still doing all the work.
And making all the hard emotional decisions for her.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to...
Because he's her daddy. This is not the role of a husband. This is not the role of a husband. This is a romance killer. Forget the debt itself when you got two people on the same page and they're really wanting to tackle it. This is a little girl saying to her daddy, I don't want to deal with it. You take care of it.
I get really tired of it.
Yeah, it can lead to divorce. Absolutely.
You're probably already a little tired of it, but you're just too nice to be as blunt and brash as I am.
This guy needs to he needs to get a pair. He needs to get a pair. I almost get the impression that she walked all over him. I do. I just get the impression. And I get the impression that he's afraid to talk to her. Afraid. Not like, he's not coming off with, oh, I'm not quite sure how to approach this, how do I say this? No, I get the impression he's afraid to talk to her. She just ran up $250,000. And there may even have been a part of him, he didn't want her to go get this.
But by the time 10 years from now rolls around, you're going to be sick of it. And you're going to meet resistance every time you try to create a sacrifice to pay this dadgum disastrous mess off.
Because daddy's little girl doesn't want to have to deal with reality and the bill. Daddy's little girl just wants the bill paid. You go take care of it. How irresponsible is that to tell somebody, hey, you go do it? That's just irresponsible, and it's unkind. And yet, she's the one who ran up the debt.
Because she's probably not going to make 100, 150. So your household income is going to be like 200, and it's going to take you guys 3 years of living on like your college students.
No. And I'll say it again. Guys, if $250,000 debts, $300,000, $400,000 debts could be paid off in 3, 4, 5 years, we would not have 30-year mortgages for $300,000 houses. We would not have 15, 20, 30-year mortgages for $250,000 pieces of property. We wouldn't. If $250,000 with interest on a student loan were that easy to pay off, there is no reason for 30-year mortgages to exist. I like to follow up on the news. There are more car repos going on than ever. People are getting cars repoed because they can't afford the $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 car bill. They can't afford to maintain the 7, 8 year commitment they made for a car. Jesus. They can't afford that. 7, 8 years for a car. What is it? The 72-month car loan now? And I thought to myself the other day, if people are getting cars repossessed at record numbers because they can't afford 40, 50, 60, $70,000 car, yet we are, yet we're always hearing, oh, but you can pay off your $200,000, $300,000 loan in 3, 4 years.
Beans and rice to clean this mess up. This is a
It'll probably be under
ridiculous,
200. So
it's a ridiculously large debt.
And something tells me she's also high maintenance. Because someone who likes to act like their daddy's little girl is going to be a high maintenance woman also. The two often go together. Because daddy's little girl wants no responsibility. She just wants what she wants.
And it's going to take a while. So anyway, the way you say that is just say, number one, honey, the number one cause of divorce in North America today is money fights and money problems. I've been studying this guy. He's making a lot of sense. I get it that you're all in until your boards are passed. I'm with you on that. At that point, you and I, for the sake of the quality of our relationship, have got to work on this together.
And you know how come I know this marriage is most likely sunk? Because they didn't have this conversation before she got into a $250,000 debt. It's true. This is a conversation that should have been had before the $250,000 debt was run up. And the fact that it's being had after the $250,000 debt, that's very telling. Like I said, I think this is less of a money problem. That's more of a relationship problem that existed before this money was even spent.
I'm going to need your help. You're bright.
do you think it?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. Do you think it would make sense for maybe after that period, after she's graduated, for us to do financial peace together to get us on the same page? Or?
Sure.
There, I just said they are not on the same page. She's going, hey, I'm going to run up this bill. I'm going to stick it to us in a relationship, and you're just going to deal with it. Not only are you going to deal with me running up the bill, you're the one who's responsible for figuring out the finances.
Lots of people do that.
Okay.
But she's got to want to do that. There's a conversation that gets her in on the path before you just announce, hey, we're going to this class together.
I'm going to say something that sounds, well, it's not cruel. I do like to throw out truths, okay? Let's say their marriage really is bad, okay? I can tell you right now it's not great. Just because of a $250,000 debt, you can't talk to your wife and she's run it up, okay? So let's just go with that situation. If their marriage really is on the tanks, now I just like to throw, ideas and devil's advocate stuff out there. He'd be better off divorcing her before the student loan bill really starts to, before she gets traction in her job. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm divorced with student loans, okay? If he divorces, let's say, 10 years after she gets her degree, a judge can say, well, you financially benefited from her degree. Okay, and I'm hoping he didn't sign, I'm hoping he did not sign on the student loan. I pray he did not sign, because this student loan was done during their marriage. However, he'd have a stronger leg to stand on and say he never financially benefited from it. Now, I'm not trying to be cruel, so let's halt the egg and tomatoes. I like to give scenarios, something to chew on, something to think about. Whereas if he were to divorce her, let's say they continue to be broke. They can't pay off the student loan. They're constantly broke, but they're spending their money. Judge can say, well, you've now benefited from the student loan. You benefited financially. See where I'm getting at? So if we want to talk strategy and divorce, I'm not saying they should divorce. I'm just saying I don't think this marriage is going to last. If you want to talk divorce strategy, he's better off divorcing before she gets any sort of real traction in a job, because then he can honestly say to a judge, I did not benefit from this student loan. This $250,000 debt should not be part of my responsibility. Something to think about. Hey, these are all things I have just read over the years, that I compile all this knowledge and information together. I don't tell people what to do or don't do. You decide. But it is something to think about. Whereas if he struggles, to try to get out of this debt with her. And after years, they still can't get this debt off. And we all know how fast $250,000 can just start to skyrocket. Just what it's going to take a few thousand just to keep up on the interest. Guys, you got to think about that. A few $1,000s just to make sure the bill doesn't go up. Just to make sure. And pharmaceutical is typically not considered nonprofit. That's definitely considered profit, but I think you have to do it right. Okay? I don't know anything really about the pharmacy industry, but it's something to think about. If their marriage is already like this, where it seems like she wants to be the princess, it's just my impression that I get. He'd be better off divorcing sooner than later. It's just a thought. Just a thought.
I mean, you could do that. Sometimes that works, but usually it's more like it's very important and that we work together on this. I'm going to need your help. I don't
Imagine having to ask your spouse, I'm going to need your help. Imagine having to ask your spouse, I need your help.
mind doing the details, but I do mind carrying the weight of all the decisions and you not having visibility and making part of the decisions. So let's walk together and make sure that the quality of our...
Let's walk together hand in peace over this sunset and the rainbows. Let's make sure we're, equally on the same page and everybody's pulling our weight, yada, yada.
marriage. A good way to do that might be that we go through this class. That might be what you do.
And she's going to say no.
But yeah, she has, the way you get through something like a PhD program or, become an MD or whatever, at that level is you have to have a singular focus. And, what I'm saying is that as a couple, you're going to have to change your singular focus from that once she passes her boards to cleaning up the mess that was created by getting that degree.
But that should have all been done before she even got the degree. It should have been mathematically thought out. Responsibilities should have been delegated. I get the impression that this was dictated to him. I could be absolutely wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But I get the impression that this was kind of dictated, like, you're going to handle the finances and I'm going to get this degree and it doesn't matter. I hope I'm wrong. Well, anyways, for those who can't see the screen, that is the end of the video. So, I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. I want to thank you so much for joining me. I do hope you will consider subscribing and have a great day. Bye.